In recent years, public interest in UFOs has surged, fueled by government disclosures, first-hand accounts, and the enduring mystery of what lies beyond our world. While many sightings involve fleeting glimpses of unidentified flying objects, a small subset of these stories tell of direct contact, conversations with beings from other worlds, and journeys aboard their spacecrafts. Let's look at three of the most intriguing. Our first story takes us back to May of 1940, near Boulder Mountain, Montana, where Udo Wartena, a Dutch immigrant and miner, experienced a close encounter unlike any other. He described seeing a large disc-shaped craft hovering near his worksite, and a man descending from the craft via a circular stairway. The man, who appeared to be in his 30s, had a gentle demeanor. After a friendly introduction, he invited him aboard the ship. Inside, he met another individual who was older with white hair, and they explained the nature of their craft and their origins. They claimed to be from a distant planet and had traveled to Earth for research and observation. Their ship operated using an advanced form of propulsion involving two revolving flywheels and creating an electromagnetic force. The occupants of the craft revealed that they had been monitoring Earth for some time, and although they could not interfere with human society, they were studying its progress. They also discussed the craft's energy source, which was primarily drawn from stars and stored in battery for emergency use. Wartena's experience included a brief examination of an X-ray-like machine and a conversation about various topics, though the aliens quite notably refused to ever discuss religion or belief systems. Before leaving, Wartena was asked to keep the encounter a secret, though he was told he could eventually share his story. He recalled feeling weak for several hours after the encounter and found only crushed grass where the ship had been hovering. The story stands as one of the earliest and most detailed instances of alleged alien contact in UFO history. Fascinating for the sheer level of conversation that happened, and the interesting topics covered, not to mention how incredibly polite it all was. Not all cases of actual conversation with aliens are entirely polite, however. Take the case of Alfred Burtoo, who was fishing along an isolated canal one fine day when a disc-shaped UFO just happened to land nearby. Out from it emerged beings, humanoids about 4.5 feet tall, dressed in uniforms and helmets with visors. They approached the old man, and the beings gestured him to follow them, and he went up a stairway and into the craft. He was made to stand under an amber light. The beings then spoke to him in broken English, telling him that he was simply too old and infirm for their purposes, so he was promptly let go. So, would you feel relief, or maybe just a little bit offended, if the aliens rejected you physically like that, saying you're just too weak and flabby, sorry? Well, one attractive young alien abductee didn't have that problem at all. In fact, the aliens liked the look of him just a little bit too much, it seemed. The Jardim Alvorada Affair is a study of a UFO abduction involving not only alien contact, but also, shall we say, some truly intimate alien contact. The incident occurred on the night of April 13th, 1979, in Jardim Alvorada in southern Brazil. The principal witnesses are Jocelino de Matos and his brother Roberto Carlos. That night, the brothers were walking when they saw a strange glowing light in the sky. The brothers at first didn't remember much after seeing the UFO, but under hypnotic regression, they told a whole lot more. According to what they said, something started pulling them, attracting them irresistibly to the UFO. They fought against this urge, but simply couldn't. They felt a sense of dread as they continued walking, and when they finally arrived, they fell down to the ground. After a while of lying there, somebody came and forcibly lifted them up into the air. They left them floating in midair, high above the ground. The astonished brothers soon found themselves up at the side of a flying aircraft. Then a door was opened at the side of this craft, and there they saw two men. One of them looked at them very attentively. He took up a mysterious tech-looking object, touched it to the brothers, and gestured them to get inside. From that point, they walked a little bit and arrived in another room full of computers. There was some kind of command display on a table. It had a very futuristic video display which showed things a simple person from the 1970s couldn't even begin to explain or understand. After that, they were all taken to another room full of motors. Again, more futuristic and baffling than anything they've ever seen before. There was no heat in the engine room at all and no noise. A whisper-quiet setup made up of cone-like motors. They were then taken into a room where there were some photographs similar to those you might see on Earth. They could see that the photographs were fixed on the wall as if they were small framed television screens. Then they continued on into another room full of equipment, which was like hospital equipment, a medical room of some sort. The aliens then asked the older brother to lie down, and they examined him. After this examination, they collected the man's seed, so to speak. At this point, you may know where all this is going. They then made him sit down on a large table or bed. Then, after exchanging a few words in some alien language he couldn't understand, the aliens discreetly left the room, presumably to offer them a little bit of privacy, as another, quite voluptuous alien entered the chamber. She was apparently a very feminine and exciting companion. So much so, in fact, that even while entirely scared out of his mind, as he surely was, the older brother had to admit that she excited him, and he was unable to resist her invitation to, shall we say, collect a little more seed. After the invitation was enthusiastically accepted and the act was consummated to its conclusion, the alien seductress then took her leave with the final words, "Perhaps the seed will come alive." Having loved him and left him, the seductress alien then exited the room and joined her alien kin, and they spoke between themselves. They then told the abductee telepathically that they came in peace, and that their objective was to study the Earth, and to study, sometimes quite intimately, the human race too. In the afterglow, perhaps, the elder brother reported being quite convinced that these aliens truly did come in peace, as friends to the human race. Occasionally friends with benefits, too. But regardless, the aliens then told him it was time to leave. They took him the same way he went and levitated him down to the ground. They then apparently promptly passed out, and it was not until the hypnotic regression that they remembered anything of the incident. Sensational and indeed sensual as these details are, the two brothers are far from attention seekers, which lends a lot of credibility to their story. In fact, since the encounter, they have for a long time been ashamed to live among their friends and family. So embarrassed are they by the publicity. They live silently, talk little, and don't participate in communal life. When interviewers first talked to them almost a year after the incident, it was only because the older brother had become so incredibly disturbed by his amorous encounter that he was looking for help. Not exactly flattering, is it, to the voluptuous extraterrestrial vixen, which he had the rare privilege of hooking up with, is it? But then, which of us wouldn't get just a little bit nervous and disturbed at the thought that at any moment we might end up getting a summons to family court in Alpha Centauri on the matter of not having paid child support since April of 1979?
Well, that just about wraps up tonight's tale from Lorehound. Join us as we sniff out more of history's most interesting stories.
As the hound dog entered the dimly lit library, he sensed an aura of mystery surrounding the ancient scrolls. The dusty shelves towered above him as he sniffed his way through the labyrinth of books. Suddenly, he picked up a scent and followed it to a secluded corner. With bated breath, he approached the shelf and pawed at the book, revealing the hidden scroll. As he rolled it out, he knew he had discovered a treasure worth protecting at all costs.